Of all objects, buildings and other cubic objects are the most difficult to draw or paint. And mistakes happen not only to beginners, but also to experienced artists. Hello and welcome to Art for Everybody. My name is Evi Steiner-Böhm. I'm an artist from Germany and I also have two assistants who are called Pedro and Rosa and who help me to explain things in a way so that they are easy to understand. In this video I would like to show you in the first part how you can construct a cube correctly, and in the second part I will show you how you can see if you have made mistakes with a freehand drawing by yourself. The material we need for this lesson is quite simple. You need drawing paper and, if possible, 3 different pencils. I have an HB, a 2B and a 4B, a ruler and an eraser. Doesn't have to be a kneaded eraser, can be a normal eraser as well. So drawing a cube like this one so that it looks three-dimensional is the biggest challenge when we learn drawing. To do this, you have to understand the laws of perspective and apply them correctly. Now, the problem is that when we were children, we were trained for a three-dimensional world, which means we have saved many data in our brain that will get in the way when we want to reduce them to 2 dimensions, what we have to do on our sheet of paper. So what you can do as an exercise to sort of get a physical sensation of just 2 dimensions is the following. I have drawn this example for you so that you can see what I mean. So stand in a room, let your arms hang loosely and look straight at a point on the wall opposite of you. And the point you will fixate there is called the vanishing point, or as we call it in German, it's the eye point. Now use your index fingers to trace the skirting boards next to you forward and watch how your arms move upwards. Okay? My fingers move upwards and they meet in this point. Now raise your arms above your head and trace the lines on the ceiling and follow them down to your eye point, and you will see that your arms move downwards. Okay, once again, downwards. And then follow the lines that are exactly on the height of your eye point. And you will see that you have to keep your arms straight on the same level all the time. So as you can see, all the lines you draw in the room move towards your eye point. Now when you draw objects in space, you need to mimic those movements to create the illusion of depth, the illusion of 3D. And artists call that the central perspective. So now let's do our cube in central perspective, which is below our vanishing point or eye point. It means that you look down on your cube, okay? I will put it away and you will see it as a photograph now. So what you see is basically a square which means all sides are the same. Now if I place the vanishing line up here and mark my eye point here, then all the lines, because I look down on it, go upwards to the vanishing point. And now all I have to do is draw the top of my square, and voila, finished. Very easy. So that was central perspective. That's the easier thing. The problem, of course, is as soon as you want to draw houses or books or something cube-like, you most likely will see these cubes from two sides. And that is what makes perspective complicated, because now we have to deal with 2 vanishing points, or even 3 vanishing points. And that is something you have to really construct. And I'm going to show you now how you can construct a cube with a 2-point perspective. Okay, so what you do is you draw a vanishing line, and then place the front line of your cube in the middle of your sheet. And then fix a vanishing point for the left side of your cube. And from here to the vanishing line, all lines have to move. And now you have to draw in the back line of your cube, and you do that simply approximately like I do it. And then we do the second side of our cube, and we have to be careful that this angle here has to be a little more than 90 degrees. And then we do the same as before. We connect the corners of the cube with a vanishing line. And get our second vanishing point. And now we draw the second side. Again, I do it just approximately. And after that, I simply have to connect the upper corners of the cube with my vanishing points. Now we have constructed a correct cube. Now remember the exercise we did in the beginning? If we want to sort of build up a couple of stories now, we simply have to make our front line bigger, higher. And now we move our lines downwards. And voila, you have a multi-story building. And as we saw before, all the cubes that are below our vanishing line here with all the vanishing points, the lines move upward to the vanishing point. And if the cubes are above your eye point or your vanishing point, they move downward to your vanishing point. So I think that's really easy to remember. So the last thing you need to know about cubes is how you shade them, and that really is the easiest part, because a cube has clearly defined sides. You have one light side, a middle side and a dark side. And how you shade it, you know, with hatching, cross-hatching, whatever, that is entirely up to you. So I make this side the lightest side, make this one a little darker, and that one is the darkest. And that's all there is to it. And of course you have the cast shadow on the table, which would be around here. But that also is very easy to see, and you don't have to do a lot of blending here. Okay, now as an example, I would like to draw this little wooden box you can see now as a photograph. And with that wooden box, we're going to look at some mistakes you are very likely to make when you are a beginner and how you can avoid making them. With the wooden box, I start, as I started with the cube, I draw my front line first. But with this wooden box, I would have the vanishing points outside my sheet. So I'm not going to construct it with a ruler, but I'm going to draw it as I see it. And with that freehand drawing, of course, mistakes can happen. So the first one I need to avoid is to make this line sort of bended or not quite parallel to the edge of my sheet, because that's an absolute rule. The vertical lines need to be parallel to the edge of my sheet. Okay, then I draw the side. And again, this line has to be parallel to my sheet, and it has to be a little bit shorter, because if I connect the lines here now, and that one, if I prolong that, they should meet in a vanishing point. And I do the same here. And remember, this angle has to be more than 90 degrees. This is maybe a little too flat. So I will change that. And again, the line here has to be parallel to the edge of my sheet. And now I hope you can see the mistake I just made, because this line and that line could never meet in a vanishing point. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to move this one a little downward so that these two lines could meet somewhere outside my sheet. Okay, let's try again. Would they meet somewhere? Yes, they probably would. And those two, would they meet somewhere? Yes, they would. And now I have to do the same with these lines, because they, of course, as we saw before, they would have to meet somewhere outside my paper. And as you see, they are probably too parallel now, so I have to move this one down a little so that they would meet somewhere out here. And of course, the same with these two. These two would have to meet somewhere as well. And as soon as you have checked if that is all correct, you can start shading. And the rest is very easy. You can draw the lid now if you want. If you have constructed your bases correctly, nothing can go wrong really. So for the shading, I put on time lapse because that's not very difficult. The only thing that remains now is to look at the finished drawing and see if I've done all my lines correctly. So I take my two pencils and I can check if all the vertical lines are parallel to the edge of my sheet. And they should be okay. And also if all the lines that go into space, if they could meet somewhere in a vanishing point. And these two lines are okay. And so are these. These are okay as well. And these are too. So these were the basics about drawing a cube. Once you have more than one object, this gets a lot more complicated, of course, but as a beginning, this should do. I hope I could explain it so that it was easy for you to understand and to do your own experiments now. And I surely hope to see you in the next video when we are going to paint houses. Until then, as usual, have a very good time. See you soon. Bye bye.